You are listening to the Jboy Show, your number one source from the SEC.
My goal was to run through his soul and grab his heart when I run through his soul.
Kurt, Nate, Coach Staff, those are memories.
I think we've established ourselves as, I think, the premier conference in college football.
Now, the SEC is better at the top. It's better in the middle.
The Southeastern Conference remains the premier conference.
Takes the snap. Looking for the receiver. He's got Lutz Kirkland. Touchdown, Auburn!
When you think about it, it's always been the SEC and everybody else trying to catch it.
I think this is probably the best league from a competitive venue standpoint.
They have the most capable teams. You just look at those programs, the way they recruit, how they invest.
Snap to Burrow. 3 steps. Fires. Back corner of the end zone. Over the shoulder catch. Did he hold on? He did. Justin Jefferson. Touchdown. Tiger.
And now, your host, Jboy.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Jboy Show. Whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever, if you're in the space shuttle orbiting the Earth, we appreciate you being here listening. Got another great guest for you today. We're going to keep them coming. It never stops, and we got one I'm really excited to get on, a guy that knows the difference, that won at a high level, playing the most critical position on the field. Even me as a defensive guy, I can say that, and we'll get to him in a minute. But I do want to give a shout out to our partners at betonline.ag. They always have bets going on. The casino's always open. And I'll typically say this, they play the sharps. They're going to put the lines out early. They're not messing around. They like to be competitive. They're going to give you a chance to win. So head over to betonline.ag today. Get ready to bet on that March Madness. I know I am. I may pick all the 12-5 games with the 12 to wins because I know one of them is at least going to hit. At least it has for the last 800 years, apparently. But without further ado, very excited to bring on a phenomenal quarterback at Georgia. In the NFL, played for the Falcons, a guy that, like I said, understands it, and I'm really excited to pick his brain. You can catch him on the SEC Network doing voice work stuff with the Falcons as well. A guy that, like I said, is multi-talented, and that's former quarterback DJ Shockley. DJ, what is up, man? I am stoked to have you here, my friend.
Bro, first off, I might need to take you on the road with because that intro was above par. I enjoyed that. You got it spot on, but phenomenal. Ooh, that may be a stretch.
Hey, man, you were one of the first guys doing it. Hey, you were one of the first. Like when I think, and I don't mean to cut you off, but when I think of guys, and I'm not trying to age you or make you sound old, that were really a problem. Not only being able to make the throws to the field, you got a cannon attached to your arm, and I'm not gassing you. I would say this. I was talking with Kyle Orr, one of our production assistants, about you earlier, and you were one of the guys that really started extending plays, and you were able to run and be electric. That's why the last name Shockley, man, was just perfect when you were playing. But and I want to start there, DJ, because, I think people throw around this term, dual threat, all this stuff with the quarterback, or he's a pro style. But just like anything, the more things that you can do when you look in the NFL now, you've got obviously your Tom Brady's and guys that aren't going to sit there and run and do all this, but it's really trending towards that way of guys being able, even if it's just to hold that backside in on the zone, even to have the threat of the run. Can you talk about how important it is, even if you're a guy that doesn't run 4-4 or 4-5, to just be a good runner? Because you know as well as I do, DJ, as a defensive guy, if we cover it up on first down at 2nd and 10, then we cover it up on 2nd down, it's 3rd and 8, then everybody's covered, and you just sneak for 8.5 on the first down. That kills you. It kills you.
Yeah. And look at you talking about holding the backside in, man. You're talking my language right there. I remember.
There we go.
My QB coaches and coordinators, they will always talk about you got to do your job. When people say all 11 guys on offense got to do their job for a play to work, is real. And some people don't think the quarterback fakes are something that's valued or should be important, because they are. And when you turn around and you look at, like you mentioned, that scenario where, hey, you do a good job on 1st and 2nd down. Here comes 3rd down, and you got a QB that can make a couple guys miss and pick up a 1st down. I remember one of my defensive coordinators in college would always tell me, look, if it ain't there, take off. That's the last thing a defensive coordinator hates, is a guy who can create and really make that play extend to pick up a 1st down or pick up extra yards. When you got everything covered and you find a way to make a 1st down, it just crushes a defense. And then it makes them think, man, what can you do now? And I love the fact you brought up the dual threat part of it, because I was just having this conversation with a buddy of mine about dual threat quarterbacks. And sometimes people look at dual threat guys, and the first thing you think about is all this guy can do is run.
Yep.
Well, there's a reason this guy is a dual threat, because he can run and he can throw. And for so long, I had to fight that stigma of just being a guy that could run. People looked at me, because I'm athletic, I can move, that this is what he does really well. And I had to fight that for a long time as far as trying to stay in the pocket, because I wanted to prove to people that I can throw the rock. And for a long time, that hampered me. And for a long time, I remember when I was in Georgia, my offensive coordinator, we'd be watching film, Mike Bobo, who's now the offensive coordinator at Auburn. He used to get so mad at me because I would stay in the pocket so long. And he'd say, look, you got 15 yards in front of you. Take it.
Go.
But in my mind, I was like, I want to prove I can throw the rock.
Yeah.
People, all they think is I can run and I can move, but I want to be able to throw the rock and be able to show people that I can do both. And once I realized I can hurt people both ways and still be something good and have value inside the pocket, my career really kind of took off and played at a higher level.
Without a doubt. And again, I always tell people, it's just like anything. It's not even a football. The more things you can do, the more efficient you are doing multiple things, the better chance you have not only to get a job, but to keep moving up. And DJ, I want to dive further into this because I love going in the mindset of the quarterback and a guy, like you said, with your athletic ability. And I love how dual threat is somehow termed into a solo. It's like calling a quarterback a game manager. Every quarterback should be a game manager. Like that. Absolutely. That to me, that's the worst term in sports. Like, thank you, because that's what a quarterback's job is to do, regardless if you're Kyler Murray or Tom Brady. You can run it, you can't. You've got to manage the game. But something to me that I think gets overlooked too when we talk about running quarterbacks, and I bring up, the zone read and being able to run Q power and have that extra hat in the box with the back to block. So you get a hat on a hat and have a chance to spring it, maybe even pick up the safety and roll in that alley. But to me, one of the most deadly things as well, and you talked about it, is the guy's ability to not only take off, but to extend that play. And I use Mahomes as an example. And again, he's athletic, he can run, and he's got an absolute laser beam attached to his shoulder. But where he is the most dangerous is where he just made a guy miss, and he's athletic enough to extend that play and almost turn it into a sprint out when it's not a sprint out. And there goes Tyreek Hill, because you can't cover him for 6 seconds. You can't cover these guys for 6 seconds. Can you talk about the ability to extend the play? And you talk about knowing when to take off and all that, but just having that balance, and it really helps the receivers out. How much did you guys work the scramble drill when you were at Georgia and when you were in the league? Because I think it's hilarious the amount of plays that get made in today's game that we're not drawn up to happen. The play got extended, it turned into a scramble drill, and there's D-Hop making a one-handed catch on the sideline and dragging both his toes for 25 yards. Looks great in the stat sheet. It'll never say scramble drill play, but it happens a lot more than what people think.
I think the scramble drill is used as much as you work on your regular plays inside the pocket where you're throwing rhythm throws. And I remember we used to work on it every single day. You work on it at the end of practice. You worked on it in the red zone. You worked on it in the field. But the ability to know where every guy is going to be. Because if you have a guy who, once he extends the play, and that's the other part of it, is there's some guys who extend the play who want to extend it to go run. There's other guys who want to extend it to go throw. And Mahomes is that type of guy who wants to extend it to try to throw, because there is a huge play or a bigger play down the field. And I remember extending plays wanting to make the bigger play, because I knew once I got outside the pocket, there was a huge problem that they had, because now it becomes, do I come up because he's going to run, or do I stay back and allow him to run? So that puts so much pressure on the defense once you get outside the pocket. That's why a lot of defensive coordinators feel so comfortable when that style of guy stays in the pocket, because it limits kind of what you can do. Because sometimes if you got this side of the field covered, well, it only leaves one or two guys. Well, once you get outside and extend the play, everybody's fair game. And we used to work on, hey, if you're coming to the quarterback, hey, you come to him. If you're going deep, you turn and you go up. You're always coming to the quarterback. You're always looking for that avenue to throw the football and throw the rock to somebody. And it was huge. And, I think a lot of people also look at extending plays in different ways. There's extending plays outside the pocket. Then I also think there's extending plays inside the pocket, within the pocket. And when I say that, what I mean is, look at a guy like Brady. Look at a guy like Breeze.
Step up.
Breeze is 6 foot now, and a lot of people say, oh, he can't see over the line. If you ever watch Breeze, he raises up on those toes, or he moves just slightly 1 yard one way or another. That's creating a lane to throw. That's extending the pocket just a little bit, or extending a play just for a second to find that avenue to throw. Brady does it all the time. Peyton did it all the time. All these guys who have elite level, they understand how to get the football out, whether it's extending outside the play or whether it's finding or creating 1 or 2 seconds where you can find a guy to throw the rock to, and it's huge. So extending plays were a big part of my game. They're a big part of the game today. And I think receivers love it more than anything because it's like backyard ball. It's true. Like, go get open, bro. And once you go get open, guess what? Anything can happen. You can see the 60, 70-yard passes. I mean, everybody remember the D-Hop play. That was an extended play by Kyler. And he bought enough time, shook one guy, and then this is what you do in your backyard when you're 8, 9 years old. You throw it to your left, you're going out of bounds, you throw it up, and then the guy down there is one-on-one. And guess what? He got more hops, so he's going to go up and go get it.
That's exactly right. And it's funny, you know, I wonder too, DJ, if did you ever go up there and say, oh, because what scares me as a defensive guy, not only you get outside the pocket, that's one thing, but if you get outside the pocket and we're running man or we're running cover one and everybody's ran off, it's a problem. It's a big problem. And I love what you're talking about in the pocket. And I want to get in that a little bit further. And we always hear step up and navigate, and it's such a feel thing. And they have timing. I think Russell Wilson does a great job of doing that in the pocket as well, because these guys that aren't 6'4" and 6'5", they can't see over everybody. But that's it's a fantastic point. And DJ, I want to kind of talk about you a little bit because, you know, I want to ask you first, what made you choose Georgia? I think I know the answer. But what was it like for you going out there? And I always love to ask quarterbacks this, your first memory of going out there, taking your first snap. I've had Danny Werfel on, asked him about it. John Parker Wilson, all these guys we've had on, quarterbacks, you know, Charlie Ward, stuff like that. What was your first memory of going out there as the Georgia Bulldog?
You know what's pretty cool is those 3 guys you just named are 3 guys who I've had a kind of cool relationship with. Obviously, John Parker came to the Falcons when I was there. Know him really well. Now, you know, he's doing, you know, his stuff at Alabama. Danny Werfel has his annual Georgia-Florida thing every year where Georgia and Florida guys come back and we play golf before the Georgia-Florida game.
That's awesome.
Charlie Ward is a guy who, when I was at Georgia, Coach Rick introduced us. And my last year, we talked after every single game, and he kind of critiqued what I did. And I said, wow, I get the opportunity to talk to a guy who was a Heisman Trophy winner, who played for Coach Rick, and it was pretty cool to have that relationship. So those 3 guys that you bring up is pretty cool that you mention those because they got a great result on what I did. But actually, you know, Georgia wasn't really a school that I said, this is automatically where I'm going. I didn't grow up saying this is where I wanted to be. This is the place I wanted to be at. At the time, once I was getting recruited, I got recruited by Coach Rick when he was at Florida State. So he was at Florida State at the time. I'll tell you a quick, funny little story.
Oh, yeah.
So he's at Florida State, and we're at like their team gala. So I'm sitting at his table, and he's talking to me. He's like, yeah, Shock, you know what, man? I think Florida State's the place for you. You're going to come here, you excel, you're going to do great things. And I was all in on Florida State. This was a time where, you know, Peter Warrigan just left. I was excited about, you know, going to be a Seminole. They were still winning and playing great ball. And I was like, man, it'd be cool to be a Florida State Seminole. And 2 weeks later, Coach Rick takes the job at Georgia. Now, when he takes the job at Georgia, the same day he takes the job, he's in my living room. He's in my living room saying, Shock, you know what? I think Georgia's the best place for you. I think you're going to be great. I think you do great things. I say, Coach, you just said that about Florida State. And he looked at me and said, you know what I mean? I'm the best coach for you. So at the end of the day, I wanted to play for him, to be honest. He had coached, like I mentioned, Coach Chris Winkie, Coach Charlie Ward, 2 totally different quarterbacks, but still had really good success from both. So I said, this guy can coach both style of quarterbacks. He's got a tenure of, you know, making those guys play really well and go to the next level. I wanted to play for them. So once he went to Georgia, it was a kind of a no-brainer. I'm a Georgia boy, so I knew I would be staying here at the University of Georgia, being at my hometown, my family be able to come down and watch me play in Athens. And it was pretty cool to have that opportunity. And I remember my first ever time there, not even my first time being there as far as being a student athlete, my first time going to visit, maybe not my first time, but I was going to a game and they were playing Auburn. And it's kind of funny I bring this story up because now me and this guy are like really good friends. They're playing Auburn and I'm on the field and I'm standing there and Takeo Spikes comes running out. And he's got this big cowboy neck collar on. He's coming out, he's screaming. And I'm like, whoa.
Oh, no.
I don't know if I want no parts of this right now.
Takeo isn't little either. He isn't little.
I was like, this dude looks like a stone cold killer. And I was like, I don't know if I want none of this, but I end up obviously going there. And I remember my first ever game, we played Clemson at night in Georgia. And I got my first chance to get in the ball game. And I ain't gonna lie, I was dead scared. I was so scared. I looked over there and these dudes were huge. First time I got back there and we were driving, I get down about the 10-yard line and the freaking Red Sea parts. I was supposed to go through the progression. I said, screw that, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Took off, shook one dude, got in the end zone. It was like a blur, but it was pretty cool to have that opportunity. And obviously it was the same kind of game that when I first got there was like, man, I would love to play in a game like this when, Auburn was playing Georgia. It was a night game. It was pretty cool. And then to have the opportunity to play in a game like that was pretty special. And I'll never forget it.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that. That's great stuff. Everybody I've asked, the quarterbacks, nobody has said, oh, I went out there my first play, wasn't worried about it, nothing. It's all been the same.
If they tell you that, they lie.
That's exactly right. And it's just such an incredible level, and it only keeps getting better, DJ. I mean, you look at the league now, and the athletes are getting even bigger and even better because you have better training and stuff like that. So you play at Georgia, and I want to ask kind of how you took, because, I don't think it's as easy as what people think to transition from playing in the league and then getting into broadcasting and doing stuff like that, because it's a totally different world. Again, we can know football and me and you can sit up here and draw up inside zone and talk about how the corner's supposed to play cover 2 and funnel it to the safety who's got to be, playing 50-50 if you get too vertical, squeezing towards the inside guy to make you the longer throw, but it's different. Hey, I'm telling you, we'll talk it all day. We'll talk it all day. You ain't going to get anywhere else. But, and again, we'll eventually start losing people, if we get too deep into it, but I want to be able to take those things like you do. And take those complex things that you have to really be sitting in the position meeting for and understand and be able to get that to the audience so they can watch the game in a more informed way, because we all want to be closer to the game. Even if you played and you got done playing, we want to be closer. But, how was that for you? Because you made it seem very seamless. And again, I'm not saying this because you're here. I mean, you could turn the tape on. I watch it. Can you talk about taking the mindset of a quarterback who's in control, that is poised, that understands what he has to do, and now being on camera and being on air and being able to explain that? Do you have some of the same, routine? I'm not saying you're walking on the field listening to your music or anything like that, but what did you take from being a quarterback to what you're doing now and doing the stuff you're doing with the Falcons, man? Because it's great stuff. It really is, DJ.
I think the number one thing that helps me is the fact that I played quarterback. And when you play quarterback, you have to be able to get the people around you to play at a level that matches yours. And for me, when I went into broadcasting, I took that mindset into, I want people watching the game or watching what I break down in a play breakdown with the Falcons or in game to understand it to a way where as if you've never played the game before. And for me, that's most important, because like you mentioned, you talked about all the nuances of these different coverages and why is it important for the quarterback to hold the backside in? Well, those are things that you can't take for granted as a broadcaster. You have to make sure you clarify why these things are important. So you can't assume that everybody knows everything about the game. And I think that's what some commentators do is they want to seem so smart, but you lose your audience in the same fashion. You have to make sure to be able to not say dumb it down, but you got to put it in layman's terms so that people understand. I think that's why, some of the guys who are at the top of this broadcast game are really good, because they're able to break it down. I think that's why a lot of people love to listen to Kirk. A lot of people love to listen to one of my mentors who taught me about a lot of stuff is Charles Davis, who has grown in the ranks.
Tony Romo.
Tony Romo. I mean, the fact that you're able to see things, and the fact that what people loved about Tony is, I think he said, okay, here's what's going to happen. But he said, this is why it's going to happen. Right. This is why I see it. And this is why I knew they were finna run this play to the right, and why this corner wasn't able to, get on the outside hit, whatever it may be. But I think if you're able to explain it in a way that you have to realize that every single person watching hasn't played Division I football, hasn't played in NFL. Maybe this is a lady who's 65 years old. She loves sports. She loves football. but she doesn't know the nuances like you do.
Exactly.
If you're able to get in the mind of a person like that, you have a fan, you have a person who actually absolutely respects what you do. And that's kind of the mindset I took. As a quarterback, I prepare the same way as I do now. I have a set plan of what I do throughout the week to get ready for a game. There are things I watch on film that helps me get prepared for a particular team. And then I still have the nervous energy when I'm about to call a game seconds before that I got when I played. And I think that's what makes it even better, because you have that feeling of, I know millions of people watching, just like when I played. I know people are depending on me like when I played. And you have that same mindset of, you got to put your best foot forward. Because at the end of the day, just like when you played, if you don't do a good job, guess what? That backup's coming in.
Yep.
Or if you don't call this game the right way, or you don't enunciate the right way, you don't say things the right way, guess what? There's somebody waiting in the wing to take your spot. So that's kind of the mindset I take it is, hey, prepare like there's no tomorrow. You can't leave any stone unturned, because you never know what you may need. It's similar to playing the position of quarterback, because you got to know what everybody's doing at all times. And I kind of take that into broadcasting as well, as I got to know everything that's going on inside the game as well as outside the game, to make sure that the people watching are getting their money's worth.
Man, you encapsulated that perfectly. And I'm going to tell you, DJ, that's why our slogan is win the water cooler. Why don't you be able to go to work and be able to talk it and understand it when you get in that argument and that debate? Well, we want you to win it. And, you talk about the nuances, because it's a language. Football is a language. And I think it's the commentator's job, or my job, or whatever show you're watching, to be the Rosetta Stone of that language and be able to translate it. But that's great stuff. And again, that's why when you do it, I tune in. But I do want to ask, you talk about Mike Bobo, and he just takes the job at Auburn as the OC. What are your thoughts on, because I know you've obviously kept up with him and seeing how his offenses, have kind of evolved, and you're smart enough to adjust your personnel. Everybody thinks, oh, Mike Bobo just wants to run the power and just wants to run the counter, run play action and throw it to the tight end. Well, then he goes out to Colorado State and they lead the conference in passing for 1 year. And then I think we're second in the next. What is it about Mike Bobo when it comes to quarterbacks, and a guy like Bo Nix, who I know you've watched, whose clock continues to speed up? He does not look comfortable in the pocket, but has all the tools to be good. And look, I know, and you got to have an offensive line that can protect. If it was me and I was Auburn last year, we'd have just slid protect the whole time and just took our chances. If we had to chip somebody with the tight end, well, hell, DJ, they didn't throw it to the tight end anyway, so you might as well leave them in there and just live in 11. But what are your thoughts on Mike Bobo and Bo Nix, and just kind of being a guy that understands how he operates?
One thing about Mike Bobo is he will simplify the game for his quarterback. And from when I played with him to now, where I have to break down the things that he does, the tendencies in the ball game, how he can disguise certain things when you don't have the personnel to make the offense really excel, I think is next level. And the thing for him is, he's going to put Bo Nix in positions to succeed. He's not going to ask him to do something he can't do. He's not going to put him in positions where he will struggle. If Bo Nix struggles rolling out to his left, there won't be many bootlegs that go to the left. I'll be honest. But he will find ways to make sure that side of the field is still taken care of with the play action game, or with things that happen down the field. He will make sure that the quarterback position is the smartest guy on the field. I remember there were tons of times where we were always putting in extra work, and he's the guy that demands that type of work out of you, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's on the field. He's going to make sure that guy's prepared. I never went into a ball game with Mike Bobo as my offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach not knowing what the defense was going to do. I already knew what we wanted to do.
That's the best compliment you can give. That's the best compliment you can give.
Because a lot of guys get into a ball game and they know what you're supposed to do. Yeah, you know your offense in and out. But guess what? Those dudes on the other side, pre-snap, post-snap, it's going to be totally different. I knew coming into a ball game, different situations, different scenarios, what I could possibly get. So pre-snap, I knew if I saw a certain style or a certain coverage, I knew there were 2 or 3 variances off that I could get. So when post-snap happened, I wasn't overthinking what should I be doing. I knew exactly, if they give me this, this is where I'm going to go with the rock. If I get a heavy or a light box, I know where I should run the football. If I get a 3 technique, I get a 1, I get a 5, I get a 9, whatever it is, I know where I should go in the run game. And that's one thing Mike Bobo will do really well with his quarterback, is make sure that if the other 10 guys on the field have any kind of doubt about it, that guy under center will make sure that they are right. He'll make sure that they get him in a position where they know what's going on, and he'll make sure that quarterback position is playing at a high level. Now, Bo Nix played tons of football. He's going into his junior year now, played as a freshman, played in all the big games, has seen it all. But I think Mike Bobo will take his game to the next level simply off what he can do up here. We know he's athletic. We know he can move. We know he can throw it. But he's going to take him to a new level mentally that's going to take his game up and give Auburn a better chance to be successful on offense.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And like I said, it's the best compliment you can give a coach is that you feel prepared for anything. Because again, it's never going to go according to plan the whole time. If it does, I'd almost start freaking out. You'd probably be uncomfortable. But being able to just to pick up on the little things that, all right, there goes the corner bail, and we worked on this. I know I got to get it out here. And I think, again, Auburn will actually start throwing the check down, which I think is the most underrated throw in football. Just watch Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. It's death. It is death by 1,000 checkdowns. That's what it is. But speaking about simplifying offenses, I want to simplify shoes for you guys for a second. Head over to ebay.com/sneakers today. Copy a pair, whether you want new ones, old ones, doesn't matter. Nikes, Adidas, shoes I've never even heard about. They're going to have them on eBay. They got a whole team of authenticators. They're going to make sure the logo's right, the tongue's right, the laces are right, the whole shoe's right. No games, no gimmicks, just great shoes at great prices. So head over to ebay.com/sneakers today and tell them Jboy sent you. But we're here with DJ Shockley. The name says enough. This is great. It's already been one of my favorite interviews already, DJ. And I don't say that a lot, to be honest with you. And I feel like they're all good. But, I'm enjoying this one. Hey, look, I got DJ on here, man. And I'm not talking about DJ Khaled. Forget about that guy. He never thrown a pass in his life. We got DJ Shockley
baby,
here.
We still the best, baby. We the best.
Hey, another one. But I do, DJ, as you know, we're kind of moving, you go play for, how cool was it to be a Georgia boy, play at Georgia, and then play for the Falcons? I mean, that's, to me, and again, I know you said in the recruiting process, well, Mark, you were a guy that was open and stuff like that. But to me, I know there's a lot of recruits right now in Georgia that are hearing that, and they're like, that's the perfect game plan. Like that's the plan. If I could draw it up, that's the plan. That had to be cool, because that don't happen to a lot of people. It doesn't at all.
No, and that's the number one thing I was just thinking was that don't happen often. I remember before I got there, the only other guy who did something like that was Keith Brookie, who played at Tech and then went and played for the Falcons. So that don't happen too often anywhere. So to have that opportunity was pretty cool. Obviously, staying in the hometown where obviously my whole family was here and able to come and play at the Pinnacle, which was pretty cool. And then to walk into a locker room where the guy you will be sharing a room with is the face of the National Football League and Michael Vick. I mean, it was cool to be able to have that year with him and watch him operate. But the fact I got a chance to play in my hometown with the Falcons and going through the draft process was crazy, because they actually showed so much interest. And everything I heard was, the team that shows you all the interest, they ain't drafting you. Don't worry about it. So I just knew I wasn't going to the Falcons. And to get that call from Arthur Blank and Jim Moore at the time, Greg Knapp was offensive coordinator, was pretty darn cool. And I tell you, man, I was excited to be in Atlanta and have the opportunity to play for the hometown team. And it's so crazy. Just a year ago, I was having a conversation with Arthur Blank. And back in 2006, my preseason rookie year, this is just last year, Arthur Blank remembers this. I'm talking to him, and he's like, I still remember when you got in the third or fourth quarter and everybody still stayed around. As soon as you ran on the field, all you heard were people barking. For your owner to remember that, and it's been, 10, 15 years later, I thought was pretty cool. And the fact, it just tells you how much love the hometown has for their hometown kids, and to be able to have that experience was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and again, I mean, they got to watch you grow. They got to watch you grow from high school to college to the pros. And I think that's amazing. And Arthur Blank, too, I've heard nothing but fantastic things about him. He's a guy that I want to get on here just to pick his brain, because obviously he's doing something right. When you're flying around in a jet like that everywhere, you figured you cracked the code a little bit.
But that big boy yachts, man. He's doing it good. Home Depot did him really well.
Yeah, that was a great decision. Home Depot. That was a great decision. But DJ, just a couple more, man. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Georgia this year. To me, I think this is the best chance that they've had. I know they've lost some guys in the secondary, but their defensive line is so good and so talented and so deep. And if there's one way to hide, losing guys in the secondary, it's by having a great defensive line. You look at JT Daniels. Want your thoughts on him? I really thought, and I'm hoping, and I've had Georgia guys on here that are like, I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it. That they kind of opened that offense a little bit more up for JT. And I'm not talking about anything crazy, but on first down, being able to take shots. Because if you go back and watch the tape, there were times last year where Pickens was open deep. They had guys open deep, and they just missed the throws. And you got to be able to make the layups. And then here comes JT in, throwing for 400 yards. And again, they've got a great formula that works. We know Kirby's a defensive guy. They're going to play defense. They're going to play special teams, try and turn the ball over. But is this a year where you see Georgia being very explosive on offense? Because Matt Luke, to me, is one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. I don't think you're going to find much better ones out there. How do you kind of see the Dogs offensively this year and just as a whole, and what could be a down year for the East, but not for Georgia at all?
This could easily be the next big thing in college football because of what's happened in the last couple of years. Just think about it. We had Joe Burrow 2 years ago who came out of nowhere and just took off. You got last year Mac Jones, who nobody expected he could do anything close to what Tua did, and took off. Well, this is a year where it could be JT Daniels' show. He could be the guy that takes off and really supplants himself as that guy in the SEC because of what they had coming back. All their running backs, all their receivers. They get a couple of guys who come back from injury like Dominic Blaylock, Rosemary St. John, another guy who got hurt in the Florida game. They got receivers galore. You talked about Pickens, who is going to be a top 15 pick when he decides to come out, when he has the chance to do that next year probably. I had the chance to call JT Daniels' first game starting versus Mississippi State last season. And leading up to that game, I knew the guy was smart. We had a chance to talk to him, and some of the things that we talked about before the game was stuff that let me know this guy was going to succeed. You talk about throwing for 400 yards in that game. They needed every yard. They needed everything from him, and he showed that he can get it done. I saw him really progress from the first quarter all the way through the fourth quarter with the way he played, the way he moved in the pocket, the things he did. Now, let's go back. Let's think about it. When they came into this season, they had a new offensive coordinator, didn't have any offseason.
Yep.
He was still learning his personnel 5-6 games into the season.
Yeah. And coming off an injury.
Coming off an injury. And now you come into a season now where you have a total offseason. Hopefully they get a spring. And now you get a chance to go through the summer. And then you get fall camp. Now he understands his personnel. He understands what this offense can be. And JT Daniels is a guy who will push the football down the field. We know that. Yeah. He's got guys who can make plays for him. Jermaine Burton, who came on last year as a true freshman, is going to be one of the elite receivers over the next 2-3 years. They have weapons. They have guys who can make some plays. Defensively, like you mentioned, it's going to be a struggle trying to find guys. But you think about it, Kirby over the last 3-4 years, top 5 recruiting class.
Yeah.
He's going to make sure he has guys in place. So there's some guys waiting in the wings to get that spot and be ready to go. The fact they got Jordan Davis back, who is 6'7", 350 pounds in the middle of their defense, is a win for them. You just mentioned it. Think about the teams that have won national championships over the last few years and what their D-line looks like for the past few years. Think about when Clemson won it. Think about when Alabama has won it. Their front seven has been a monster. They have been mean. And Georgia will have that coming into this season. They will have a good defensive front, but they also will have the leadership on the offensive side of the ball to get it done. And Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, is drawing up some stuff I think will have this offense and a lot of Georgia people excited because they're going to open it up. They got no choice. Yeah, they got good backs. Kirby wants to maul you. He wants to run downhill with it. But he also has weapons on the outside. And I think he's seen over the last 3-4 years, the teams that won these national championships, they have been spread wide open. Let's throw it all over the yard type of offenses. And he needs that to win in the SEC, to get over that hump to beat Alabama.
Exactly. You got to score. You got to score nowadays. You're not beating anybody 9-6 anymore. Like that's not going to happen. And it's funny. I judge elite teams or I look at elite teams and they tend to have things in common. They tend to be somewhat balanced on offense. You talk about pushing the ball down the field, having an explosive vertical game. So I got to at least keep one safety over the top, obviously. But most of the time I got to go 2. Well, what does that do? It takes one out of the box. Then you're able to pound the ball at people and you're able to be bouncing. It's almost impossible to stop. Then you look on the other end. And if you have an offense that can do that and a defense that can rush the passer with 4 and not have to blitz and be able to play coverage and they can 2-gap a little bit against the run game, That is a very hard combination to beat. And over time and the amount of plays, it typically is going to win out. And I think that's something that Georgia will be able to do. And that's what Alabama, to me, hung their hat on. You watch Alabama's D-line, it's this. That's what it's this right here.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to watch that.
And you think about, like I mentioned over the last couple of years, with the LSU offense, the Alabama offense, they put so much pressure on teams because they're going to score 35.
Yeah.
It don't matter. So guess what? If your offense can't match them, or if you have some empty possessions, that puts so much pressure on your defense. And now you can play coverage. And if you have those monsters up front and you get up there, you can throw guys away and get after the quarterback. It's a recipe for success. And I think Kirby has seen it over the last couple of years, and he wants to have that style of offense and defense and to get it back in that playoff.
Without a doubt, I couldn't agree more. DJ, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, man, because you're a great follow. I'm going to have to bring you back, man. Like I said, this is one of my favorites. I knew it was going to be great before you even came on, man. We got to do this again once we start progressing. I know you're doing stuff with the Falcons as well, but man, I really appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Jboy, appreciate you having me, man. You can catch me at DJ Shockley 3 and then Shock3 on Instagram. Staying busy, man. I may have to get you to come on my podcast, the Triple Threat podcast.
Hey, yeah, man. That's fantastic. Going, man. Hey, well, I appreciate it, man. It'd be an honor to come on and we can chop it up anytime. And again, it's something I think you hit the nail on the head, and I know the audience is going to love this one. I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching us. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Jboy Show. Hit thejboyshow.com for merch. I appreciate you guys. Without you, there is no us. And don't think that I don't know that. It's been another edition of the Jboy Show with DJ Shockley, a true dual threat and a game manager. Yes, I said it, and those are two compliments, and we are gone. The Jboy Show is produced by David Cohn, technical director Dave Hammock, creative director David Culbertson, audio engineer Feyzan, production assistant Kyle Orr, and our executive producers Jake Crain, Vince Thompson, and of course we film at Melt Sports in Atlanta, GA. So come check us out.